There's another video that I want to bring up that's you and David Allan Coe back when you were going by Johnny
Yes.
Corndog.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
And it has one of my favorite Coe-isms, which is about jumping up on the chair, jumping up on the table, taking my dick out. That whole fucking thing.
How'd you force your way into that?
What was up with that situation?
Dude, David is my second cousin, actually.
For real?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
It's kind of funny. So my uncle died. Before my uncle died, I was driving him to the airport after Christmas, and he said he was always a little loopy, you know. And he said, "Well, you know, your cousin David Allan Coe," and I was like, "The fuck?" You know, like what? My mom would have said no, you know. And he's like,
I would
"No,
know that.
yeah." He's like, "Yeah." In like '59, we used to have all these fish fries at Lake Maria or whatever. I was like, "What?" And so I asked my mom about it. I was like, "Hey, David Allan Coe?" And she's like, "Yeah." He's our cousin. I was like, "What the fuck?"
Nobody thought to mention this.
Yeah, I was like, "What do you mean?" And so she's like, "Well, oh yeah, I do remember him. He was a real troublemaker, and then he went away when he was like 11, and we never saw him again." And so I was like, "Damn, that's so cool." And I just kind of put it out of my mind, or you know, I told everybody who would listen, but didn't do anything about it.
Right.
And then I was on, what's it called, Sirius XM. Jeremy Tepper. Do you remember Jeremy? He died a couple of years ago, but fucking great DJ. He's a loudmouth. He's a big like name dropper, but a good guy. And he was talking shit. I was doing some show with Billy Joe Shaver or something in New York, and I got on his show to promote. I think it was Dad Country. Yeah, that record in like 2011 or something. And he said, he's just talking shit. You know, he's just like, well, la la la, I know this person, I know this person. He's like, and I'm friends with David Allan Coe. And I was like, well, that ain't shit. He's my second cousin. You know? And he stopped. He's like, bullshit. I was like, no, it's actually really, it's true. And he's like, well, I'm texting him right now. So he texted David, and he said, I'm sitting here with your cousin Johnny Corndog, and David wrote back immediately, all caps, "Who the fuck is that?" And I was like, all right, hang on. So I like called my mom. I was like, all right, what's the connection?
Yeah.
You know, like what is the connection? I'm on the air. Like how do I explain this? She's like mention Lake whatever it was in Ohio in 1959. Harry and Harriet Neal, his parents, whose names before were like Dawn and Elizabeth, and they changed their names to Harry and Harriet.
That's
Okay.
weird.
Yeah, and like when like his dad married some new woman, I think she was like, "You got to do something about all these kids. You got to get rid of some of them." And he was like, well, "I'll get rid of David." Like that's a sad story, and so he I think just took David to the state and said we can't handle him, so they put him in like a detention center for youth, and then you know by the time you get 18 in those places, you pretty much just go to jail because of
Right.
The Charlie Manson effect.
Yeah.
you're just fucking institutionalized anyway. So that was his story, you know. And anyway, so I wrote all that, and he wrote back immediately. He said everything he says is true. He is kin to me, and you know I was like, all right. And this is the first time I ever made the connection. Um, and he says give Johnny my phone number, and I was like fuck yeah. Oh, and I was opening for him. So I was opening for him at Music Hall of Williamsburg, and I was on the air talking about that, and he was like, oh, I'm friends with him. I was like, well, he's my second cousin. So then when the show happened, he came up to me and like just gave me this big hug, and was surrounded with a motorcycle gang as like protection, the outlaws, and they all kind of like did this like fist fucking thing and swore me in. And I was like, yeah. And then after that, he offered me a bunch of shows, and I played with him in Nashville at Marathon, and it was incredible. And I was like, wow, amazing. You know, I really love most of his music. I think it's very fucking good.
He's my
And
favorite country singer of all time.
he's
Like
so good.
1969 to 1984,
Yeah,
every fucking record is just
it's great. It's great. And I mean, he'd always stay with me when he'd come to Nashville, and I couldn't believe it. He'd kind of burned every bridge. You know, like he didn't really
Yeah,
have
it seems
anybody.
like that.
I can believe
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I could too. And there's one really fucking funny story. I was in Nashville. I was trying to buy my house that I was living in, and he was staying with me. and I had an appraisal like early in the morning, like 8 a.m. The appraiser showed up, and he knocks on the door and like kind of wakes everybody up. And I came outside and I was like, oh, I'll deal with this. And we're walking around the house and we're looking up at the soffit and the fascia and all this, kind of pointing out like some flaking paint and stuff. And David comes outside and he's like trying to put his wig on, and he's having some fight with his wife, with Kimberly. And he's outside on the porch, like we're like 10 feet away from him. And he goes, "You fucking bitch! You motherfucking bitch!" And the appraiser was like one of these like real like one of the guys like that I'm singing about in Hot Chicken Condos, like
Right,
kind of
right.
pudgy, like tucked in golf shirt, and he was like, "Is that David and Co?" And I was like, "Family." And he was like, "Okay, okay, got it, man. I'm a little bit starstruck." And I was like, "Yeah, well, what are you gonna do?" And then he comes out and has like another big blow up fight, and we're trying to ignore it, like look up at the roof and be like, "Yeah, a couple shingles have come off." And I was like, "You want to go check out the back?" And I was like, "Yeah, let's go around back." But anyway, yeah, that house appraised $30,000 over what I was trying to buy it for. But
There you go.
I lost touch with him. I've texted him once a year or so since then. I haven't heard back from him. I don't know.